this has been an odd year. It's been a year where technically a lot has happened, but at the same time, it didn't really feel like much changed. It's been a year where I uploaded a grand total of 8 videos, which isn't a lot, but it's a lot for me. It's been also a year where I feel like 3 major things have happened to me. Firstly, I graduated high school, an achievement I thought I'd never get to see. Mostly because I was extremely depressed and thought I'd die before it happens, but hey, I'm somehow still alive. Secondly, I became somewhat of an adult with a somewhat regular job. And it's been truly an experience. Mostly positive. And thirdly, I've been bombarded with questions about my future. Mostly the, are you going to university? Or, you're definitely considering post-secondary, right? Questions that my grandmother keeps on asking me, which then I have to tiptoe around, because if I say the wrong thing, she's going to be upset, as she talks about how she doesn't want me to make the same mistakes she did, or how I am too smart to not go into a post-secondary institution. And all that. Oh, let's talk about that. Honestly, I'd love to go to school to study art. I don't know how often I talk about this outside of conversations with my friends, but I love picking apart games from a mostly artistic point of view. Heck, my current art style is a mesh of my favorite interests, and I used to take a lot of photos as a kid and looked at photography. I also have this minor obsession with art books, and I just now realized that everything I've written is off topic, so ignore that. What I am trying to say is that if I got to study art, even if it's not video game adjacent, and is just looking at the classics, I'd love to do that. But the main problem with applying for a post-secondary institution for me are my grades. And the fact that I am technically doing this mostly on my own. I have one polytechnic that my career advisor showed me back a few years ago, and she said one of the courses there would work well for me. But the problem is that, ironically, one of the main classes that I needed to take to be qualified for that was a grade 12 art class, which I couldn't take because I didn't take an art class in grade 10, and you need to take an art class every year to get to the grade 12 one. And I didn't take an art class in the beginning of my senior high year because I didn't get a chance to choose my own options. Or maybe I did, and I just forgot, but I sure as heck know that I did not want to choose career and life management as one of my options, and I didn't even pass that class, so it was all a waste of time. I did eventually start looking at other places, mostly colleges, which were more attainable for me, but apparently none of the ones I chose appeased both my teachers and my father, both of which wouldn't help me look for any. In my parents' defense, we are immigrants, so they don't know much about how to apply to post-secondary, and I understand that. And for my teachers' defense, they are high school teachers and they have all of their other classes to teach and that kind of stuff. Except that I just feel a bit salty about the teachers' part because they offered help after I graduated and told me to send them an email and they'll respond when they have time. So I sent several. And I've gotten little to no response for over 3 months. Yeah. And now, let's briefly journey into the mess that's my high school transcript. I did well on my diploma exams. That's a start. Got a 90% in English, and my social studies diploma was also pretty good. But my marks in class weren't as nice. And when it comes to applying for post-secondary, they look at the entire grade, not just your diploma exams. Heck, I'm pretty sure the diploma exams don't really count for much, and there's a bat in the background. What are you doing here? Did you fly out of that cave? Aw. Sorry about that. What was I saying? So while I did really good on my social studies diploma, I barely passed the class. And the same thing kind of goes with English, unfortunately, and all of my other grades. Other than the classes I chose to take, and some of my math. But those ones apparently don't count. When it comes to the classes I chose to take, my options, those don't really count that much. They look at core classes first. And when it comes to math, I took 30-3, and since there's no diploma for that one, and it's just teaching you rudimentary math stuff, they didn't really count that. And while it may be possible for me to upgrade my courses, it would take me at least a few semesters to get to an acceptable enough level. Which leads me into my next headache. Upgrading. If there was a small chance of me getting the grades I need to enter a respectable post-secondary institute, which is a mouthful and I don't understand why I wrote that several 10,000 times, I'd need to go back to school. I could do it online, but I just know I wouldn't get much work done if I just used online school. I did try it for a bit, but it just didn't work out, and besides, I did online school during COVID, and my grades suffered for that immensely. Also, if I can be really, really honest for a second, I don't want to go back to high school. There were a few good moments, but when it comes to the stress of education and my depression, it was rough. It was really, really rough. This entire quest of applications and searching for stuff and all of this post-secondary institute stuff got to a point where I just gave up and decided to worry about applying next year. Unless my grandmother somehow found the channel and suddenly started understanding English really well, in that case, disregard everything I just said. There are no problems at all. In other news, I kind of have a 9-to-5 job now. I say kind of as it's a casual position at a pretty neat establishment, but I try to work for about as long as a normal job, and I usually get regular shifts, so for all intents and purposes, I have a job. And it's pretty cool. I've been working at the same place since I was around 16, and it's the second job I've ever had if you ignore my babysitting and other work I do for my parents and or their friends. It's also the longest I've ever worked at a job, with me lasting a grand total of 2 weeks at my last one. On an unrelated note, I have a lingering distaste for a certain grocery store in my town. I like most of my coworkers, and I think most of them at least tolerate me. There is the one coworker who, whenever she sees me, she calls me by my birth name, despite me telling her to please stop doing that. But we rarely see each other as we're in different departments, so it's not fine, but I tolerate it. Sometimes my coworkers like to talk while we work on something, and usually I just listen. But sometimes I join in the conversation if I have something to say. There was a time when a coworker asked me about Don't Starve Together, and I info dumped about that game to him, and they were somehow interested in what I was saying, which was both super neat and a bit terrifying, as I'm pretty sure I talked about the game and the lore around it for 2 hours straight. If anyone's wondering, my favorite survivor is WX78. I think they're pretty neat, and I've gotten to spring with my friends so far. Maybe I'll finally get around to editing that over 10 hours of Don't Starve Together footage I have. Oh. And I got thrown into the water for my sins. All in all, it's been great. It hasn't been amazing, and I really don't want to hold the same job for the rest of my life. But as of right now, it's great. Thanks to the job, I was able to fund this really cool trip where I went to see this Final Fantasy VII Rebirth concert that happened a day after my day of birth. So Yeah, I'm grateful to my boss for choosing to employ a kid who, when asked if they enjoyed their previous job, instead of saying something nice, they said they hated the experience and everything about it. And she still hired me, so... She's a nice person. Oh, this is going to be an odd one. I've had a rather rocky relationship with school. I became friends with the wrong person in elementary, and she kickstarted most of my anxieties and hatred of myself because I was too much, and people needed breaks from me. Yes, this is what she told me. And I believed her and went so far as to willingly isolate myself from everyone else because I didn't want to annoy everyone. I didn't want to annoy my best friend. I thought everyone felt the same way as this so-called friend did. And when I moved to a new school after elementary, I kind of shut down. The school counselor described this to me a few years later as my brain deciding to shield myself from any more harm. And looking back on it, I agree with that judgment. My memory is also more than a bit spotty when it comes to anything before, I'd like to say 2 years ago, maybe 3, though 3 years ago wasn't that nice either. So I can't really remember most of my school days really well. I do know that I read a lot of books. As in, I read books to a point where my teachers were impressed with how much I read in a single year. I was also diagnosed with depression, and I didn't believe that diagnosis was correct until I did self-reflection and realized, oh, so normal people aren't supposed to be sad every single day? I can't recall when I started making actual friendships, but I do remember that one of those friendships led to a little series I made on my channel, the CGSMP video logs. And when I was writing this script, I realized that those videos are over 3 years old now. I feel old. We're having a standoff right now. So this is going to be the introduction to the episode. You just fucking fall! The way I recorded those videos is a bit odd. I recorded those videos using my PS4's built-in recording feature, then exported the clips as a private YouTube video, which was then downloaded and then edited together using a paid version of Power Director for Android. I then sent those videos off to the internet void, where little to no one viewed them, but it doesn't really matter, because I enjoyed making those videos for myself. And I'm glad I did, as it's a time capsule into the past, where I wasn't happy all the time, but I was happy when I made those little videos. For a brief moment in time, I was just playing Minecraft with my friends. And I was happy. The, F1, right, there.
Oh, my directions are, I should stop being in, oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. If I wasn't half decent at using Elytra sometimes, I would have just completely died. I can't see, okay, I couldn't see the top of the ground. There we go.
But, as the saying goes, nothing built lasts forever. Those friends and I, most of us kind of drifted apart, and I felt alone again. But going into grade 12, I knew I wanted to change that. I wanted to be more social, I wanted to be more confident, and I tried. I really, really tried. And while I made some progress, it wasn't enough. It was a bit of too little, too late, and while everyone else was off making the best of their final year, I didn't know what table to sit at during lunch. But it wasn't as bad as how I'm writing it out to be. There were a fair bit of positive moments, but it's just that the mind tends to focus on strong, powerful emotions. And unfortunately for me, that means I remember the bad moments way better than any of the good. I do know that the graduation ceremony was neat. I got to walk across the stage and get my fancy piece of paper, and there was a grad dinner and dance. That was also neat. And after it all, I got to read this neat little book where other people wrote down their best wishes to me and a congratulations on graduating. Everyone in my grade got one of these, and we could decorate ours however we liked. Oh, that's me. To my surprise, a fair bit of people wrote in mine. I was expecting a few people to write, but it was nice to see that there were more notes than expected. I was really happy, and still am. I wish I knew how to reach out to others better and let them know how much it meant to me. But hey, I guess it's just because I'm comfortable enough to express my emotions to a camera, apparently it doesn't get rid of my social anxiety when it comes to speaking to others. Speaking of feelings, you may have been wondering how I felt when I graduated. Well, at first, it didn't feel real. I remember sleeping so much during those first few days because I was really exhausted. Ow, my little guy fell asleep. Oh no, I didn't feed him. Sorry, my Tamagotchi just decided to, jump scare me. And then, as it set in and my siblings returned to school, I felt relief. Who knew that school was one of my main culprits behind all of my stress, and that by removing it, I've been feeling happier than I've did in probably years. Oh, my mental problems are still there. And I have the lingering worry of what to do with my life, since I genuinely thought I'd die before reaching this point. But other than that big elephant in the room, everything else has been fine. Most of this year has been split up into two big parts in my mind. There's the last bit of high school, and then there's everything that came after high school. I've talked to so many people about potential future plans, and a lot of older people told me there's no real big rush to enter post-secondary, and how it's always going to be an option later down the line. But at the same time, I've been hearing so much about how I desperately need to get into a post-secondary, move out of my parents' house, and be a responsible member of society. And I don't know anymore. Either way, it's been stressful. And even though I said I'd like to go to a university, sometimes I don't know if that's me talking or if it's just thoughts that's been thrown at me enough times that I've started to internalize them. Heck, even talking about post-secondary now is enough to make me want to curl up in a corner and cry, and I know that's not good. But if I don't want to go to post-secondary, what else do I have? I don't want to live with my parents forever, and well, I do want to be a member of society. I want to be an adult, but the only route I see is one that I don't know I'm mentally stable enough to journey through yet. But if I don't do it right now, right this second, I feel like a failure. If I stall for even a moment, or let myself breathe, I feel like I'm losing precious time that could be better used to further my own education, and do you see my thought process? Do you see everything? All in all, it's been an odd year. But it's not like it's been all doom and gloom like I've been saying throughout the entire video. I've been playing D&D at my town's board game shop for over a year now on Tuesdays, and without me having school, I've even joined the Wednesday campaign as well, and I've been having a blast. I've been feeling less alone, and I play games and talk with some of my online friends almost every day. I've even chipped away at several projects, though I have no clue when I'll release them. If ever. I mean, take a look at my upload schedule. I don't upload anything in a timely manner. But if nothing else, picking up Minecraft again has made me rediscover how much I love this game. And the sun is setting. Actually, I'm gonna exit out of F1. Just for this one. And I discovered my love for building these cool bridges that I've been showing off in the background of this video. Heck, I think I just like bridges in general now. After building a few, I started paying attention to the ones I walk on every day in real life. I've been looking at schematics, I've been just... There may be something wrong with me. Oh, and also, just to finish this video off, this really wasn't the video I wanted to upload after that last one. I actually had a video in the works about my first solo trip, alongside a video that isn't Minecraft related, but is instead a silly Don't Starve Together one featuring my friends, where we all collectively go insane. It's a fun video. Hopefully I'll actually finish editing it. I hope next year I'll be able to upload more videos and finish more projects, and maybe even be more social and talk with more people. And this is most definitely going to be the final video I upload this year, so s Novym Godem! I hope everyone has a nice holidays, and I'll see you all in 2025. And if I happen to just not upload anything, which I doubt it, I'm going to make a strong effort to upload things in 2025, and if I break that promise, go and yell at me until I actually upload a video. If by any chance I don't upload anything in 2025, which is unlikely, I'll see you in 2026. And if I don't upload anything in 2026, I'll see you in 2027. So on, so forth, and I really like how these shaders look at night. Like, look at this. It's super neat. Whoa. God, the moment I start recording, it rains.